battle royales, being bedazzled, being bamboozled, being in a circle of trust, paying it forward, going on road trips, going the whole 9 yards, dancing in the dark, and trying to hold on to your sanity by talking to a volleyball. You can count on me because it's time to go back to the start of the new millennium. We're here to cover the year 2000. I'm Andrew, and I welcome you back to the Revisionist Almanac, now in high fidelity and part of the Movie Archer podcast network. We continue into season 3, and I have a first-time guest I'm so delighted to introduce you all to. She is someone who is always in the mood for podcasting, and if you ask me, she deserves to be called Best in Show for her work on Pop Culture Confidential. Let me introduce you all to Christina Jeurling Birro. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled that you asked me to come on and you're doing such great work. So thank you for having me.
I am such a fan of your work. I just want to say this is a really humbling experience to get to talk to you. Everything you do, your film festival coverage, all the interviews you do, you're one of those like guiding lights for me as I try to fumble my way in the dark through here. So I just want to thank you up front for all the work that you do. You're a constant inspiration to me from a distance, and so I'm really appreciative that you've taken the time to be on here with me.
Well, same. I'm very inspired by your work as well, and just the amount of work you do, and the research that goes into it, and no, so it's great. It's great to be here with you.
And even though he couldn't join Christina and myself during the recording due to a scheduling issue, I had another guest lined up to be part of the episode, and I wanted to make sure his contribution was part of this since he put in the prep time and the effort. He is an unbreakable gladiator in the content creation space. He's an author. He's a Dapper Dan man. He's Jeff Rauseo. Throughout this episode, I'll work in some of Jeff's prep notes he sent me to use on his behalf. We're going to have a good time. I'm really excited to talk about
Yeah.
all these movies that we have here. We picked a really good year. You picked this year, so I'm so excited to chew into all these movies that we have. I do want to remind everybody, though, this show looks back on the past Academy Award ceremonies with the luxury of hindsight, and we are going to determine what should have won the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director, and the 4 acting categories. Before we start things off, I hope you'll take time to rate and review the channel on whatever podcast streaming platform you're using, as well as finding and following the show on every social media platform. The handle is Rev Almanac, and you can, of course, find all the video content over at moviearcher.com in one easy place. So for anyone who's not familiar with the year 2000, the Best Picture winner was Ridley Scott's Swords and Sandals epic Gladiator. A couple also quick notes on the year 2000. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon became the 3rd film nominated simultaneously for Best Picture and Best Foreign Language Film in the same year. That happens much more frequently now. And Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon won 4 Oscars, which ties it with Fanny Alexander, Parasite, and All Quiet on the Western Front as the most awarded international films in Academy Award history. Okay, Christina, so this is your first time doing the show, your first time experiencing the craziness of the prep that is Almanac prep. I have a couple questions for you. Number one, how did you find the prep process going through some of these movies? And then what are your memories of the films that came out in that year? And do you find yourself revisiting these very often?
Well, can I start here? First of all, the exercise was so interesting. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable that it's like 25, 26 years ago. I mean, but I was thinking when I was thinking about the year 2000 in terms of, because I like to sort of look at the zeitgeist, where we are when we're looking in pop culture. And for the kids, you're going to recognize so much that was happening in 2000. I mean, the names, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, they were like the golden couple. They got married that year. Britney Spears was like being followed by paparazzi. And for those of you who saw the Michael Jackson biopic, well, a lot more happened after that ended in the year 2000 and going forward. So, and the kids who know that old guy in the Selena Gomez series, well, he's the one who actually hosted the Oscars that year, Steve Martin. So there's so many things that, even though it was 26 years ago, that you'll recognize. What we were going through at the time was we had just survived the Y2K scare, the millennium bug, and everyone was worried what was going to happen. Then it was Clinton, Bush, Putin came to power. I mean, but lots of things weren't the same. This was also pre 9/11, which was just a year away. So, in terms of storytelling, it's interesting to sort of think about what was happening before then and sort of what happened afterwards. And as you said, going into this exercise, I thought it was so interesting because what we do have is the benefit of hindsight. And looking back, it's so interesting to see when all these movies that you wanted me to rewatch, because this was a year that I kind of know. I was working as a journalist very early in my career then, watching a lot of movies. So a lot of the films I know, but it's interesting to look back and see what has really survived and why, looking at all these things that was going on in the world then, what feels relevant today. There's several, I mean, there's particularly one masterpiece which isn't even, no one even talked about it in terms of the Oscars, because this was also pre Oscar so white. So the Academy was still overwhelmingly older and white, and diversity was a major issue. And I think you can feel that in the winner. So what was interesting to me going into this exercise is how much I actually changed in the different categories that you wanted me to look into. And I didn't really think that I would. I probably thought that it would not be so many changes on my end, but it turned out that I have quite a few things that I missed or wanted to move around. Sorry if that was a bit long and winded.
No, that's perfect. You have set the stage for the listener right now who maybe didn't live through 2000 or remember it the way we did. I would have been 15 at the time, and so my memory of these movies is substantially different than it is now at 40, where some of my favorite movies some of my favorite movies at 15 are definitely not my favorite movies at 40, and vice versa. I'm very excited to see where some of our revisions go, because like you, I went into this with a roadmap for where I thought I was going to go with some of my nominations and some of the things that I think should have won, and where I ended up was a little bit different than that. And so I'm excited to kind of unpack that category by category. I do want to also ask you, Christina, is there a movie that you watched, or maybe you didn't watch it intentionally? Are there any bad movies that were on that prep list that you watched or wanted to avoid? And then are there any movies that you watched that you really had a good time with that you won't be talking about later on when we get to the categories? Just some feel-good experiences that didn't necessarily deserve a nomination.
Well, I'm of the category that I don't like chocolate. And I don't think I'm alone. I think it's a very divisive film. I didn't rewatch it because I already remember how saccharine and cliche I felt that it was. This was kind of the Weinstein movie of that year, where it feels like he got it into Best Picture. I mean, the 90s were filled of sort of the Weinstein campaigns and chocolate. And I like Lasse Hallström. I like My Life as a Dog. I think Gilbert Grape is a great movie. But after that, he tended to go very saccharine, did several movies about dogs. I mean, literally about dogs, not just My Life as a Dog. And so that's probably one that I didn't. Any movies that I enjoyed during the prep, but won't mention. I think I'm hoping that I'm going to mention all the films that I liked. So yeah, no, not that I can think of at the moment.
Excellent. I there were a couple of movies that stood out that I intentionally went back and rewatched just to see if my feelings about them were the same. They are. I'll call out The Beach, which is Danny Boyle's movie that I probably connect with the least. I appreciate some of the experimentation of the filmmaking, and it's obviously got Tilda Swinton and Leonardo DiCaprio. It's got a great cast. I just think The Beach is a little bit messy. It's not really my speed. And then I've never been a huge fan of Mel Gibson's The Patriot, and I certainly am still not a fan of that movie today.
No, not me.
Yeah, it's Mel Gibson was feeling himself post Braveheart in '95, and I think he just wanted to keep cranking out that kind of movie. So I went back, I rewatched The Patriot, I gave it another chance. I'm still not a huge fan of it. I do want to mention, I'm not going to get a chance to talk about two films. The first one, it's a really influential movie still 30 years later, Battle Royale. I'm a huge fan of that movie and the idea of it, all of these things that exist now that are Battle Royale style, Hunger Games, Squid Game, etc. And then I do want to shout out the movie that's the highest rated movie for me that was a first time watch in this prep experience. Most of these movies I had seen a number of times. I don't know why I had never gotten to this film before. It's really beautiful. I need to see it more to really understand it. The Werkmeister harmonies was a really powerful first time watch that I'm still, like I said, I'm still kind of unpacking my feelings
Oh, I
on.
haven't seen that. I have to
Okay.
get to that. Yeah.
It really impressed me. It was on the Criterion channel, I believe, at the time when I watched it. Just really kind of took my breath away with the visual storytelling. It was hard to find a spot to put it in the categories we're talking about, which is acting and directing and things like that.
Hmm.
But I did want to shout out that film. So if people have not seen the Werkmeister harmonies, I would recommend giving it putting it on your watch list. You never know if you might get around to it. I think people will have a good time if they check it out. Cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. As for Jeff, he leaned on what he already knew of the films from this year, revisiting a few things before locking in his picks. His advice for featured guests would be don't try to watch everything. Pick the films that are actually going to matter and focus there. And be sure to go in with at least one take you're willing to defend, because showing up neutral is the absolute worst thing you can do. When it comes to the 2000 film year on the whole, he said there are two completely different conversations happening in 2000. You've got the big studio stuff doing exactly what it's supposed to do, Gladiator, Castaway, and then underneath all of it, there's a darker, angrier undercurrent. Requiem for a Dream, Memento, American Psycho. The Academy went with the epic. They always go with the epic, but the more interesting films are the ones that mostly got ignored. The other thing Jeff kept coming back to, this is pre 9/11. America at full confidence. This context really matters, especially when we get to his best picture pick. When it came to movies Jeff enjoyed watching that didn't make it into his actual revisions, he highlighted a few. Almost Famous, he said he loves that movie and it's underrepresented in every category. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is another one, just really fun, just not in the top tier when he's actually making his picks. And Castaway 2. He said Hanks is doing something remarkable in that film, and the movie around him doesn't quite match it, though. Okay, before we get into the categories, Christina, let's first talk about the egregious oversight category. So, for anyone who follows along with the show, what we can do is we can pick any category that exists outside of the six we will cover throughout the rest of this episode. We'll look at what we thought should have won versus what actually won. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over to the audience and we will let them vote if they think we were correct or if they think the Academy was correct. I will go ahead and I will start us off, Christina, and then I will go over to you if you have a nomination that you want to throw up. I am going to go at Best Adapted Screenplay. That will be the category that I'm not a huge fan of the winner of. The winner, of course, was Traffic, which is based on a 1988 British television show I was not aware of at the time. I'm going to nominate for the movie I think is the best adapted screenplay of 2000. It is the Coen brothers' Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, which is, of course, based on Homer's The Odyssey. We are a month away when this goes up from Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. All due respect to Mr. Nolan, I don't know if he's going to be able to make something as amazing as Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, which I just love the creativity that the Coens put into adapting The Odyssey into that world of the South at that point in time in America. And so I believe that the Coen brothers' Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Is a superior adapted screenplay to Traffic. And so that will be my nomination for egregious oversight. Okay, Christina,
Good
what
one.
about you?
Good one. Well, let's see if I've thought about this one correctly. But I have to say, the most egregious oversight in general of the year 2000 is crazy. And that's that In the Mood for Love. Wong Kar-wai's absolute masterpiece is nowhere to be found this year. This is a movie that in my interviews throughout all my years, I mean, people have directors, actors have cited this movie. Sofia Coppola talks about it in other interviews. Barry Jenkins. This is a movie that people still are looking visual. I mean, they do things on TikTok. It's when you were talking about seeing something then and seeing something now, when I saw this as a film student, it gave me, just the power of cinema, the visuals, and then seeing it as an adult, having been through relationships, good relationships and bad relationships, it's such a powerful, poetic, deeply psychological experience. So I just, in general, feel that this is my award for egregious oversight for that. So, and I will come back to this movie several times but I think this definitely. I don't mind that Crouching Tiger won in art direction, but this one should have been there, as I believe American Psycho should also have been nominated. American Psycho is also a movie that I feel has been absolutely. There's so many things we wouldn't have seen if this, or not that we wouldn't have seen it, but that have really changed the look of the 80s, of narcissism on screen, Nicholas Winding Refn, Wall Street, Nightcrawler. There's a tremendous amount of movies that have been influenced by the look, and I'll get back to it in terms of directing and all that's as well. But I'd like to include those two in art direction, which we won't be talking about.
I love it. So why don't we'll put up to a vote. I'll let the listeners decide in art direction if they think American Psycho, In the Mood for Love, or the actual winner should have won that year, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And we'll just see what the outcome is, because I think those are both worthy inclusions. Number one, American Psycho. That's one of those movies where I saw it one way at 15. You know, I was very much a teenage boy, and now I see all of the satire behind it and all of the intentions that the director had for it. And
one of the most misunderstood and deeply just wrong in how people have analyzed that film and what Heron was really trying to do in terms of a satire on toxic masculinity, which, I mean, at the moment, that's all we're seeing, or not always, but I mean, adolescence and Richard Gadd's Half Man, and we're talking about these things still, and this movie really walked so they could run, in my opinion. And just a fascinating movie that we keep talking about and coming back to in a way that others in here are kind of forgotten.
Are you cautiously optimistic or very nervous about the potential of Luca Guadagnino remaking American Psycho?
I mean, I like Luca, but I kind of ask myself why. Because I really think that Mary Harron did an incredible job, and it feels so relevant in a way that many of the directors and writers who are tackling these issues right now, it just feels just as fresh and satirical. So I'm not quite sure what he can do. It's also, just talking about art direction, the look of it. I don't feel that it's particularly necessary to do anything more with it. So, but I'm always interested in seeing what Luca does. Yeah. Was not happy about his latest one, so
After the Hunt was not my favorite.
No, it was not, and there he tried to get into some satire as well, and it did not really work. So.
Yeah, I'm a little scared. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I hope whatever he has in mind is powerful and interesting, but it's going to be hard. Mary Harron created something that has really stood the test of time for almost 30 years. It
has. And even grown even more, unfortunately, in terms of the topics of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening to think about the world we live in today, of all these male influencers and what they think is the standard, and then this movie just so perfectly shatters the image that is obviously on the surface of the movie, and there's so much underneath of it. American Psycho, I'm sure, will be talked about plenty as we get into the categories. And In the Mood for Love, this will not be the last time we mention In the Mood for Love. Right. I can promise you that.
Not you either. You agree, though, that's
In the Mood for Love is just should have been in every single category that it possibly could have. It's just one of those most beautiful movies that's ever been made. Yeah, I am a huge fan of it. Expect much more of it during this conversation. Just like me, Jeff went after the Best Adapted Screenplay for his Gorham Award. He said American Psycho wasn't nominated. Mary Harron and Guinevere Turner took a notoriously difficult novel, found the satirical thread inside it, and made something that works on 3 levels at once. The fact that the film got completely shut out across the board, screenplay included, tells you everything about how the Academy handled that movie. They just didn't want to touch it. That's the egregious oversight to him. This, of course, means that both American Psycho and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou can be chosen in the online vote against that year's winner, Traffic. Okay, before we do get into the categories, though, it's worth mentioning if Christina and I agree with any of the actual Oscar winners, we're going to skip the online vote. They're going to get an automatic entry into the Almanac. What we're going to do is we're going to list off what was nominated in each category. I'll wipe the slate clean. We will each give our own 5 nominations and the thing that we think should have won in that category. We'll turn it over to the audience and we will let them vote on it to determine the actual winner. Okay, are you ready to start this off, Christina?
I think so.
Okay. A little hesitant, but I think you're ready. All right, we're going to start in the Best Supporting Actress category. So in the year 2000, the actual nominees were Frances McDormand for Almost Famous, Kate Hudson, also for Almost Famous, Julie Walters for Billy Elliot, Judi Dench for Chocolat, and winning was Marcia Gay Harden for her performance in Pollock. Now, I'm a gracious host, so I will happily go first on this one and let you kind of relax as we start things off. Before I get into the 5 women that I've nominated, I'll throw out a couple of honorable mentions really quickly that were in conversation. I just couldn't find a spot for them. First off is Frances McDormand as Elaine Miller in Almost Famous. I think she's wonderful in that film. Her screen time isn't the most substantial, though, and so for that reason, I don't have her in my 5. And then Elaine Jin as Min Min in the film Yi Yi, Edward Yang's Yi, a great film. Elaine Jin is fantastic in that movie, just didn't quite make my 5. As far as the 5 women, though, that I've chosen in this category, and as I always do, I'm going to list these alphabetically by the order of the film. So I'm going to start off with Kate Hudson as Penny Lane in Almost Famous, which she was actually nominated that year. It's just a radiant character, a wonderful role. I think it really showcases Kate Hudson at her very best. My second nominee will be Zhang Ziyi as Jen Yu in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That film has a robust ensemble of actors who all pull a lot of weight, but for whatever reason, Zhang Ziyi always stands out to me. I think she's the most compelling character, the most interesting presence on screen, and so I wanted to include her in my nominations. My third nominee will go to Connie Nielsen, playing Lucilla in Gladiator. Now, I don't think she's got the best material to work with. Ridley Scott's never been known for being the most wonderful in terms of giving women a lot of starring roles and starring stuff. But I do think Connie Nielsen extracts quite a bit out of that performance to get a nomination for me. And I always feel like she's given less credit than Joaquin and Russell Crowe for that film. And so I want to shout out Connie Nielsen as a nominee. My fourth nominee will be Marcia Gay Harden playing Lee Krasner in the film Pollock. I think it's a great performance. I don't know if Pollock's my favorite film. I hadn't gone back to it in quite a long time. It's an interesting biopic choice. Ed Harris is very good. I think Marcia Gay Harden steals the scenes most of the time, and so I wanted to include her there. And then my fifth nominee will be Jennifer Connelly as Marion Silver in Requiem for a Dream, which is just a devastating character for anyone to have to try to portray on screen. And I'm going to give my win to the person I think is the most intensity and commitment of performance, which is, of course, Jennifer Connelly for Requiem for a Dream. I just think that was such an extracting movie for her probably to have to make. And I just want to reward the commitment that she gives to that character. She fully turns herself over to the role. She's asked to do a lot of really tough things. It's not a movie I like to ever revisit. I did once again for this project. And I just think that Jennifer Connelly stands out so much in that film and the journey her character takes from point A to point B. And so I want to say that Jennifer Connelly, I think, should have been given an Oscar for Requiem for a Dream. Okay.
That's so funny. We have several of the same.
Okay. Okay. So go ahead, and if you have any honorable mentions, shout them out there, and then just jump into your 5 nominees and whoever you think should have won the Oscar.
So I think I'll jump into my 5 nominees,
Okay.
and I'm going to start with one that you had, and that's Zhang Ji. Excuse me if my pronunciation isn't correct, for Rebel Girls Everywhere. She was such an important, great character, just a fighter and just a notorious and longs for freedom and adventure and just the whole sort of theme of the movie and just did it so well. I think she's a fantastic character and in the actor's hands, it just turned out perfectly. Next, I want to nominate Catherine O'Hara for Best in Show, which I think is one of the comedic performances of that decade. Just a genius who we lost very prematurely, unfortunately, Catherine O'Hara, but I think that's fantastic, and it's so seldom we get to see a comedic performance at the Oscars, so I think this was well worth it. Then I'm going to take the two women from Almost Famous. Kate Hudson, you said it very well. She's just the spirit of the movie, just a Nepo baby well used, right? She's fantastic as Penny Lane. To me, the best performance she's ever given. And I also want to nominate Frances McDormand as the mom, Elaine Miller, who I became a mom after this, several years after this, of course, but just perfect in every way. And to me, this is a great supporting. I like a short supporting actor role like this that really something sweet and short, but that you remember forever. And this is one of those supporting actors that I think is perfect. And also, absolutely Jennifer Connelly in Requiem for a Dream, who is just transformative and just bears everything in this incredibly difficult role. And I would have to say that I'm hit or miss with Aronofsky. He's not my absolute favorite filmmaker, but the performance he gets out of Jennifer Connelly is incredible. And funnily enough, I agree with you. I think the Oscar should have been hers.
So you didn't even nominate Marcia Gay Harden. Did you?
I didn't.
Did you go back to Pollock and revisit that performance at all?
I did. I mean, it's a great performance. Pollock doesn't really do it for me. And it was difficult because, we have to make some hard choices here. But she did not make it to the 5 for me. And that's probably a lot because of the film.
Yeah, it feels very dated. It definitely feels like a movie that's kind of like lost in time
from its time. Yeah.
Very much so. What a cool Catherine O'Hara, Best in Show. I am always an advocate for comedy getting more attention. Every single performer in Best in Show is just giving it their all. I love the entire ensemble. It's one of my favorite Christopher Guest movies. That are Waiting for Guffman. They're kind of like fighting for supremacy at any given time. All right, Jennifer Connelly. So Christina and I, to start off, are together in our pick. I did not expect us to. I thought I was maybe going out, on a limb, giving Jennifer Connelly my win. So I'm so happy that we're together on that win right there. So when we get to a social media vote, there's just going to be 2 options you can choose from in this one. You can either side with Christina and myself. We both have Jennifer Connelly for Requiem for a Dream, or you can side with the Academy and Marcia Gay Harden for the film Pollock. So 2 options there. I'm feeling pretty good that we can probably steal away that win for Jennifer Connelly in that category.
Of course we can.
I do hope people check out Pollock, though, if you've not seen it, at least just to kind of get a frame of reference for the 2 performances. They're vastly different things that are happening on screen between Requiem and Pollock.
It's a great, Ed Harris, it certainly is an incredible piece of work that he put so much into, and so.
And she had a good run during that period of time. She has the Mystic River performance a couple of years later, and Marcia Gay Harden, I think, has really been a strong,
one of the best. Yeah,
absolutely. I have no qualms with her having an Oscar in hand at all. Just like Christina and myself, Jeff gave his win to Jennifer Connelly in Requiem for a Dream. He said Connelly wasn't nominated, and she should have been. What she does in Requiem is genuinely hard to watch, which means she's doing her job. The film asks a lot of her, and she doesn't flinch at all. Marcia Gay Harden winning for Pollock is one of those wins that made sense in the room and means less and less every year since. The question now, will Connelly win the online vote with the support of Christina, Jeff, and myself? That is going to be up to you to decide. Okay, let's go over to the Best Supporting Actor category now. We'll see if Christina and I are together once again, or if we go in different directions on this one. So in 2000, here were the 5 gentlemen that got Academy Award nominations. We had Jeff Bridges for the film The Contender. We had Albert Finney for Erin Brockovich. Joaquin Phoenix for Gladiator. Willem Dafoe for Shadow of the Vampire. And the Oscar went to Benicio del Toro for Traffic. And with his nomination, Joaquin Phoenix joined his brother River, who was nominated in 1988 for Running on Empty, as the first pair of brothers to both earn acting nominations. So a little bit of history for the two gentlemen there. Christina, we'll have you start off here. So if you have any honorable mentions, shout them out. And then same thing we did in the last category.
Okay, I think I'm just going to hit my 5 here. I'm going to start with Albert Finney, who is just incredible as the boss, Erin Brockovich's boss, Ed. He's weary and warm, and he's, when you play one of these characters who's sort of hard but with a heart, it can tend to be so cliche. I mean, it's really easy to be, and he elevates this to another level because he's such an incredible character actor. And also the chemistry between him and Julia Roberts, I think, is just incredible. Erin Brockovich is a movie that several screenwriters I know, including my husband, they just feel that it's one of the absolute best, most perfect movies. And it's a reference movie for a lot of people. And I think it very much has to do with, the dialogue and the chemistry between the different characters. And Albert Finney, I think, just is amazing. So definitely worth being in there. I'm mirroring my supporting actress because I'm doing Fred Willard in Best in Show for his commentary alone. I mean, this is just amazing. I mean, just the funniest. I laugh every single time I see him. I think it's an incredible performance. And in the same way, I'm going to mirror Philip Seymour Hoffman as Lester Bangs in his supporting role, because this is also just to me, the epitome of what a supporting role is, in particularly the uncool scene, which elevates the whole film. And people talk about that 25 years later. And I think, honestly, if you ask me, any year that Philip Seymour Hoffman is available to nominate, I would nominate him. But I do think it's a particularly incredible small supporting performance he does in Almost Famous. Then I am going to nominate Mark Ruffalo for You Can Count on Me, Kenneth Lonergan's little pearl of a movie. I love this movie, and I think this is, to me, one of my favorite performances. I think he's incredible. He really is. But he's so vulnerable and aimless and irresponsible and tormented, and I love the sort of sibling relationship that's in this movie. He's the brother of Laura Linney, who's lots of issues, but in the same way that the character that Ed Mace or that Albert Finney plays in Erin Brockovich, I feel this could be a very cliched character, the brother with issues, but there's something about how he adds depth to this character and vulnerability that I think one of my favorite performances of that year. And then I'm going to go with Joaquin Phoenix and let him stay here in this category as Commodus. He is the OG Roman Roy. If for your Succession fans out there, someone who can play such insecurity and is so effing evil at the same time, and he does this nuance. You can see behind his eyes that he is so insecure at every move that he's making, but at the same time he's just, laughing all the way to the arena. So I will leave, those are my 5. I'll leave Joaquin Phoenix there.
Okay, and which one do you think deserved the win?
Oh, Albert Finney. Sorry.
Finney, okay.
Yeah, I think Finney is, I'm fine. I think he's an amazing job in Erin Brockovich.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a little bit of overlap, so we'll talk through that here in a second. I've this Best Supporting Actor, most of the time when we do these month to month, we find that this is the category with the most depth. Men have historically just gotten way more opportunities than women, and this field is always really big and lots of variety. So usually this is the one where there's the most range between the picks. As far as honorable mentions, I'm going to shout out John Turturro and John Goodman as Pete and Big Dan Teague in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Both of them just love Coen brothers dialogue. They milk scenes for
so
all they're worth. The scene by the tree with the frog and John Goodman is just like classic. I laugh at that every single time. And then I don't think Billy Crudup gets enough love for playing Russell Hammond in Almost Famous. And I want to shout him out because, like Kate Hudson's obviously the heart and soul of that film, but I do think Billy Crudup carries so much emotional weight for me when I go back and watch that movie time and time again. The dynamic between the band
Definitely.
is just really strong. And Crudup's again one of those guys that's just been consistently making wonderful movies for his whole career. Never really gets kind of the love at the top end that I think he deserves. As far as the five guys though, I've gone with number one. I'm so happy I'm not the only one saying his name. Fred Willard as Buck Laughlin in Best in Show. I could watch just his scenes on repeat over
I
and
mean,
over. Like he's Fred Willard, gotta love Fred Willard. He's clearly just like having the most fun being spontaneous on a Christopher Guest set, and yeah, it's just one of my favorite comedic performances of the 2000s for sure. Fred Willard. I'm also going to give a nomination to Joaquin Phoenix playing Commodus in Gladiator for all the reasons you said. I rewatched it again over the weekend to kind of reframe myself, and he's just chewing scenery. And there's one scene with him and Connie Nielsen and her child, and he's sort of like using the kid as a pawn in this strategic play he's making. And there's so much happening behind his eyes that you kind of touched upon. Like he's doing a lot in that movie, and
mm-hmm.
when I get an opportunity to nominate Joaquin Phoenix, I usually do as well because I just think he's a great actor. So I'm going to give him a nomination. My third nominee is Tim Blake Nelson as Delmar O'Donnell in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I think of him, Turturro, and Goodman. Tim Blake Nelson is just the one that I go back to the most often as having the most fun, interesting performance in that movie. They're all having a great time, all four of the guys there. But I do think Tim Blake Nelson is really wonderful in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Another actor who's just one of these great character actors that can slip so easily into any movie and any role, and he's like a chameleon, and I just think he deserves a little bit of love here. My fourth nominee is going to go to Brad Pitt playing Mickey O'Neill in Snatch, which is this way over the top heightened performance, and the accent is its own thing, and it's a very
that's not for me, to be honest.
and I totally understand that for sure. It's a memorable movie still for me all these years later, and so I was like, you know what? It's one of the more interesting Brad Pitt performances because it's so strange and different from everything else he's ever done. So I wanted to at least nominate him there. And then I am going to give Benicio del Toro a nomination for playing Javier Rodriguez in Traffic. I'm not the biggest Traffic fan. It's not my favorite Soderbergh. I prefer Erin Brockovich if I probably had to choose between the two. But I do think the only thing that keeps me invested in Traffic is the journey that Del Toro's character goes on in that film. And so I felt like I should at least nominate him, given that he sort of keeps me engaged in Traffic when I do revisit it. I don't find a lot of the other storylines compelling. And I'm gonna change my pick from what I had written down here on the thing to you changed my mind. I'm gonna give Joaquin Phoenix my win. I wasn't originally, but you know what? I think that he's doing so much in Gladiator. He's working so over the top. The comparison to Roy in Succession is such a fun one. So yeah, I'm gonna give Joaquin my win. I think that's a really cool performance. Yeah, that's gonna do it for me right there. So I'm gonna change up on the fly.
I'd be happy with that one too, or would.
Yes, Joaquin gets a lot of love on this show. I'm just coming off a couple of months back. We talked about The Master, which is another one of his great, fantastic performances, which he was up in the vote for that one as well. Ultimately, he lost to Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, but I think I've got a shot here to give Joaquin a win. So when we get to a vote in this category, we're going to have three different options you can choose from here. You can side with Christina. She's got Albert Finney and Erin Brockovich. I've got Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator, and the Academy has Benicio del Toro in Traffic. I also want to say I really love, like we talked about, Marcia Gay Harden. She had a couple of good movies right in this little pocket of time. Just a couple years later, Albert Finney makes Big Fish, which he's phenomenal in that movie as well, and shows his diversity of talent as well. Jeff came to the table here with a pick that wasn't on Christina or my radar. He said, nobody is going to see this coming. Harrison Ford plays the villain in What Lies Beneath, the gaslighter, the threat, and he is genuinely unsettling. This is not something Harrison Ford does. The fact that he pulled it off and got nothing for it is an oversight. Del Toro winning is fine. I'm not going to fight that. but Ford in that movie is the most interesting supporting performance of the year. With this, Harrison Ford is added to the mix, and you can now vote for him, Albert Finney and Erin Brockovich, Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator, or Benicio del Toro in Traffic. Okay, Christina, we are up to the Best Actress category now. So in 2000, here were the 5 women who were nominated. We have Juliette Binoche for Chocolat. We have Joan Allen for The Contender. We have Ellen Burstyn for Requiem for a Dream. Laura Linney for You Can Count on Me. And the winner was Julia Roberts for her star performance as Erin Brockovich. I will go ahead and I will kick us off again. I'll let you close out this category for us. A couple honorable mentions I will throw out there. Michelle Yeoh playing Yushu Lien in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Big fan of that movie. I just think Zhang Ziyi does more for me, and which is why she got in my nominations, and I've got Michelle Yeoh just kind of on the outside here. And then I don't love the performance in Chocolat that much, but I do want to shout out Juliette Binoche for making not only that, but she also makes Code Unknown in the same year. 2 vastly different movies. One's a Haneke film, and then Chocolat is very different. And so cool for Binoche knocking out a couple of really interesting performances in the year 2000. As far as the 5 women, though, here are who I have. First and foremost, I'm going to give Bjork as Selma Yeskova in Dancer in the Dark. I don't know what it is about Lars von Trier. He's a very grating individual for me. And in real life, I don't love everything he says, but he has this way of getting amazing female performances time and time again, whether it's Melancholia or Dogville or you name the movie. Lars von Trier usually has a strong female performance at the forefront, and Bjork is wonderful in Dancer in the Dark, so I have to give her some love, especially not being primarily an actor. She deserves a ton of credit for that role that she's given. I'm going to give Julia Roberts a nomination for Erin Brockovich. It's just, I mean, it's her being a star at the height of her power. She's just being Julia Roberts, and she's great. Like there's no reason to knock her. It's a wonderful win. I have no huge qualms with the win. I'm going to go with somebody else, but I don't have a huge issue with her winning. I've got Maggie Cheung playing Mrs. Chan in The Mood for Love. She's just, there's this subtle grace and this beauty about Maggie Cheung in this film. There's so much yearning in her character. I'm so sympathetic to the journey that she and Tony Leung are in this movie. And so I want to recognize Maggie Cheung for everything she does in The Mood for Love. 4th nominee will be Ellen Burstyn playing Sarah Goldfarb in Requiem for a Dream. This is just one of those performances where Ellen Burstyn shows that, you know, she wins an Oscar in the 70s and she shows she still has her fastball all these years later, and she can give just as commanding a performance in the year 2000 as she does back in the 70s. Just a wonderful performance by Ellen Burstyn. My 5th nominee will be Laura Linney for playing Samantha Prescott in You Can Count on Me. Another situation where Kenneth Lonergan always tends to get really great acting performances. The dialogue is very meaty and it's right there for them. And I just think that Laura Linney just absolutely devours this movie with her performance. She is incredible. I had never seen this movie before, so this was another movie I was really, really high on, especially because of her. I'm glad you gave Ruffalo some love as well. As far as the win, though, I'm going to go with Ellen Burstyn for her commitment in Requiem for a Dream. I didn't think I was going to give Requiem 2 different wins, and that's ultimately where I ended up here. I just think I have so much sympathy for her character in this movie, and the journey that she goes to and the spiral that she goes down, and she's eventually gets driven insane by everything that happens to her. And I just found this performance to be so compelling and just a wonderful reminder of the greatness of Ellen Burstyn. All the way back a few months ago on the show, we gave her a win for The Exorcist, which I think is fully deserved. And I think she's just as powerful here in the year 2000 later in her career. And so she's going to get my win. Sorry, Julia Roberts, but I'm going to go with Ellen. Okay, Christina,
Great.
Over to you.
Fantastic picks. And we overlap in all but one.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'll run through semi-quickly here. But I also have Julia Roberts in Erin Brockovich. I think kind of, again, I mean, she's just such a glamorous, she's a, as you said, height of her movie star powers, but at the same time can play this single mom, raw, with incredible chemistry with Albert Finney. I think she's fantastic in this movie. I also have Björk. As you mentioned, she did not use traditional acting methods. She really embodies this. unfortunately, it took a tremendous emotional toll on her, as I understand it. She felt really abused. She used I think really that's the word she's used, by Lars von Trier. And so I don't think she did a lot of acting after that. But it's such a powerful immigrant story and about the power of art, and it's her music. And I think it's just an all encompassing role by her. I think she's pretty amazing. I also have Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream. So committed to this role. I think she was like 66 at this point, and just the power of showing this character in a downward spiral. I mean, amazing performance. Maggie Chang for In the Mood for Love. This is the power of restraint, acting restraint. And I don't think, I'm not an actor, but I think that seems so difficult to be able to do. And the quiet glances and she gives, and just the yearning and the chemistry that she and Tony Leung have in the movie is unforgettable for me, just unforgettable. And the one that we differ on, I forgot, I really want to shout out Laura Linney, because as you know, I love that movie. I mentioned that in the previous one, but he will have to represent that, because I really wanted to get Kirsten Dunst in here for Virgin Suicides, who was, I think, like 16 when she made this. She is Sofia Coppola's muse. This is another one of these movies that has so much stood the test of time that I have had the honor of interviewing Sofia Coppola and doing research about. I realized that the younger generation, she is so important still. And these rebellious, mysterious, sexy teens that are just so powerful in her hands. And I don't think anyone could have done it better than Dunst in Virgin Suicide. So I really wanted to include her here. I don't know if the audience will agree, but I'm actually going to give my win to Björk. I think that it's such a performance for someone who is not an actor, and it's so unique and all-encompassing that I went back and forth, because I really love the Julia win. I have no problem with that at all. There's some of these that I feel almost personally offended by what they've forgotten and things, but I don't in this category. I really was thinking maybe I should, but I kind of felt like I was, I had Albert in the other one, and just trying to move things around a little bit. But all of them are worthy. So my only sadness is that I would have wanted to squeeze Laura in here if we would have had 6. But anyway, those are mine.
What a cool win. To your point, up until The Northman, when she's got a pretty small role, I hadn't seen Bjork in a movie in quite a long time. I've read some stories about the horrors she kind of went through on the set of Dancer in the Dark. And, like I said, I am not a Lars von Trier apologist. I think he's not the best guy in the world personally. For whatever reason, the women shine on screen for him in
Emily
movies.
Watson. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just
Breaking the Waves is so powerful.
Performances. Yeah. No doubt. So, yeah. We're separating the art from the art.
Yes. Sometimes easier than other times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one I can definitely do that. What a cool win. And people might be curious, like, oh, Andrew, why didn't you mention Virgin Suicides? So we had talked about this off air. It's one of those movies that, like, I think it was at Cannes in 99, and then it got a wide release in 2000, or vice versa. I believe that was the direction it went. I think I included this in my 1999 episode last season as part of my prep process there, so I decided to kind of move it out of here. But I'm very glad that you brought it to the table here, because I don't recall Kirsten getting a ton of love on that episode. And so I'm happy that she got a shout out here, because she's fantastic in that movie. I'm a huge Sofia Coppola fan as well. Lost in Translation is one of my favorites. Did you interview her for Priscilla, or was it prior to that one?
Yeah, for Priscilla. Yeah.
Okay. That's very cool. I feel like I remember seeing some pictures of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 different options once again in this category, all over the board with the performances. So we will see where the audience lands on this one. They can side with me. I've got Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream. They can side with Christina. She's got Bjork in Dancer in the Dark. And then they can side with the Academy, Julia Roberts, Erin Brockovich. Can't go wrong with whoever you pick there. I am a huge
they
fan
side with everyone. I side with everyone.
Great performances all around there for sure. For the second time now, Jeff and I were on the exact same page with an actor revision. We both backed Ellen Burstyn in Requiem for a Dream. On this performance, Jeff said Julia Roberts was great. Ellen Burstyn was better. It's not close. Sarah Goldfarb is one of the great screen performances of the last 25 years, and it gets treated like a footnote because the film made people uncomfortable. The Academy has always had a hard time with performances that go dark. This is the clearest example of it. Because of this, you will still have 3 options in the vote: the pick of Ellen Burstyn by myself and Jeff, Christina's pick, Bjork and Dancer in the Dark, or Julia Roberts for her real-life win with Erin Brockovich. Okay, let's switch gears over to the Best Actor side now. So in 2000, the 5 men who got nominations were Javier Bardem for Before the Night Falls, Tom Hanks for Castaway, Ed Harris for Pollock, Jeffrey Rush for Quills, and the crown went to Russell Crowe for his role in Gladiator. Christina, why don't you start us off with the Best Actor?
Okay, I'm going to shout out Russell Crowe, who I don't have in my 5, but I do think it's a tremendous performance, and it sort of is a pop cultural performance of the ages. I mean, Gladiator would not be Gladiator without him, but he's just right on the edge of mine. So I'm going to start with one I mentioned before, and I think that Christian Bale in American Psycho, Mary Harron's again, who made this movie sort of the feminist perspective. It's so misunderstood how she critiques toxic masculinity, and he is just narcissism on screen. I mean, he's one of the best actors that we have, but here I think he can elevate anything, and he gives everything. It's manic. It's almost teetering on comic. I think he's amazing in this movie. Tony Leung for In the Mood for Love. Again, such an incredible restraint, and the passion that they show is just mind-boggling. So yeah, I'm going to have Tom Hanks for Castaway. I think he's great. He really shows the sort of psychological need for love, for the desperation of being, I mean, he carries this film alone for such a long time, and it's kind of a different performance for him that we had seen leading up to this in terms of Tom Hanks and also afterwards. So I think this was great. I also want to leave Javier Bardem there for his performance in Before Night Falls. I think it's also one of these, you're talking about Requiem for a Dream, but just someone who's just shows the decline that happens to him throughout the movie. Very, very powerful. And Chow Yun-fat for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, who just brings charisma and stature to this performance that I absolutely adore. And I'm actually going to give my Oscar to Christian Bale.
I had a feeling you might do that after you kind of teed it off early on. Is this your favorite Christian Bale performance of them all?
I don't know if I'd say, but I think it's underrated. I think people are kind of afraid of this movie. I don't know how to explain it. It's been so much back and forth and so many misconceptions, and it's been it's kind of been critiqued from a wrong perspective so much that people are kind of afraid to touch it. But I think that definitely one of the ones that we should be talking about more in terms of his performances. What do you think?
Well, that's a great segue. This is why you do what you do, Christina. This is you just led me into this one. Thank you so much for that. So I'll throw out a couple honorable mentions. I'll get into the 5 guys. So I'll shout out George Clooney playing Ulysses Everett McGill in Oh Brother. Again, just a movie that I just I have so much fun every time I go back to it. It's one of the more fun Coen Brothers movies. I could pop on any of their movies anytime and have a great time. I'm going to shout out a gentleman that I am not a huge fan of Amores Perros, but I do think Gael Garcia Bernal does a tremendous job in that movie. Just a really challenging movie for me to go back and watch, but I did want to mention him, and then I'll mention Javier Bardem as well, who I think is extraordinary in that movie. As far as the five, we're going to have some overlap here for sure. First up, Christian Bale playing Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. Just an iconic performance to start a career effectively. Obviously, he's done Empire of the Sun and Newsies.
Yeah, it was more of a child actor before.
Yeah, this was like really the one that I think I was like, okay, this guy has established himself as a figure in Hollywood at a much different level, and so I feel like we have to recognize his performance in there. Tom Hanks as Chuck Nolan in Castaway. I'm with you. When you carry that much of the movie and you're a one-man show and you're not just doing the Tom Hanks thing, like I do feel like there's a lot of nuance to his performance there that's different. And then when we get to the end, I mean, it's maybe a little emotionally manipulative. However, I do find myself pulled into the end of that film and the crossroads that he's left at, if you will. And so, yeah, Tom Hanks for me. I'm going to put Russell Crowe in my five as opposed to you who just had him on the outside. Totally respect not putting him in there. It's one of those like elevated action hero performances that I do think has stood time really well. And so I wanted to, yeah.
It is one of those, top tier action performances in every way with some depth to it.
Yes.
Right.
And it's hard to picture anyone else really like carrying the mantle of that movie. And so, yeah, I wanted to recognize him. Tony Leung playing Chow Mo-wan in The Mood for Love. Just copy and paste what we've said about Maggie as well. I mean, the glances that they make, the very subtle touches that happen, everything about that movie like gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And Tony is just one of those great actors in all of the movies he's done. And then I'm going to give a nomination as well to Jared Leto playing Harry Goldfarb in Requiem. Just all of the actors, the full commitment that everyone does in that movie.
Requiem is really your movie.
It's so funny, Christina. I don't particularly care about the movie in terms of, I try to keep my distance from it.
Interesting.
And yet I feel like I have to recognize the actors. Yeah, I was not expecting to end up with Requiem kind of all over the board for me, but I do, and I'm not a huge Jared Leto fan either. I'll put that out there, but I do think he does quite a bit here. I'm going to agree with you. I think Christian Bale, American Psycho. I was maybe going to give it to Russell Crowe just for like, the Oscars gave it to him. It's a very different Oscars win than a lot of wins, and I thought, okay, it's a really interesting Oscars win for that pocket of time. But I just feel like Christian Bale has so much more to his performance and the range. You mentioned there's comedy in there. The scene with the business cards is just iconic. Just all of the stuff that's happening in his mind in that movie and behind the scenes is just incredible. And so you and we were in agreement once again. It took us a few categories to find our way together again, but I do think Christian Bale deserved to win an Academy Award for American Psycho. So we are in agreement there. And that's going to make a pretty good gladiatorial battle between Christian Bale in American Psycho and Russell Crowe in Gladiator. So the audience can vote on one of those two gentlemen for the Oscar. I will do my best to make sure that Christina and I get Christian Bale to win there. Okay.
There's more than enough memes you can throw up for both of them.
That's true. They are both just meme machines for sure.
Yeah.
A second time now that Christina, Jeff, and I all ended up on the same category winner. He felt the exact same way we did about Christian Bale in American Psycho. Jeff noted, Bale is doing satire, horror, and genuine movie star charisma all at the same time, and none of it falls apart. Patrick Bateman should have been an unwatchable character. Bale makes him the most compelling person in every single scene. The film does not exist without him. So you can side with the three of us on the vote, or you can back the Academy and Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Okay, let's get over to Best Director. I'm very excited to see what comes into play here. A
Oh,
lot of good
this
options.
category broke my heart. This was
Oh my
the one that
gosh.
was the worst.
There could be a laundry list of honorable
Ah,
mentions, I'm sure here. Okay, so as far as the 5 people nominated in 2000, we have Stephen Daldry for Billy Elliot. We've got Ang Lee, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Steven Soderbergh, Erin Brockovich. Ridley Scott, Gladiator. And the Oscar went to Steven Soderbergh also for his achievement on Traffic. Soderbergh was the third person to receive double directing nominations in the same year. Okay, Christina, I'm going to let you make the choice. Would you like to go first or second here?
no, go. You go first.
Okay. All right. I was actually hoping you'd say first because I was debating some of these choices, but okay.
We can go together if you want. I mean, if we overlap, I can say.
No, I'll go first. I'll take this. I'll take it for the team. Okay. So as far as honorable mentions out there, Darren Aronofsky for Requiem for a Dream. Once again, I'm throwing that movie out there.
You better after having.
I'm with you though on Aronofsky. He's a very mixed bag for me. I could do without
Yeah.
Noah. I could do without The Whale, quite frankly. The Wrestler, I find a quite compelling story. So yeah, some good, some bad with Aronofsky. The Fountain, maybe not so much. I do like Requiem for a Dream though. So I'm going to put him in there in the mix. And then I'm going to give Edward Yang for Yi Yi an honorable mention. Just another film that I think is really strong and not talked about enough, but not quite good enough for me to get it in my 5. But I do think Yi Yi is a really strong film. As far as the 5 nominees, though, I'm going to give a nomination to Ang Lee, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. He's a master director. He has proven through his career the amount of versatility, the things he can dip his toes into, whether it's Sense and Sensibility, Brokeback Mountain, Life of Pi, you name it.
Every genre, every national,
Yes.
like everything. Yeah.
He has no limits to what he can do. And it's just remarkable. And I do think in a weird way, he's still underappreciated as a director. And yeah, so I want to give Ang Lee some love here with a nomination. I'm going to give Ridley Scott a nomination for Gladiator. I just think he pulls off the size and scope of that movie in a really monumental way. And he doesn't overcomplicate things. Sometimes Ridley Scott can overcomplicate things for me, or the director's cuts that he's notorious for doing. I think Gladiator is like, he did it just right. He accomplished everything efficiently with that movie, and it's one of the more impressive Ridley Scott directorial achievements for me. I'm going to give Wong Kar-wai a nomination in The Mood for Love. That movie is just a painting. It's a masterpiece. It is Wong Kar-wai at his very, very best. I am a fan of so much of his work. Happy Together, Chungking Express, you name it. But In the Mood for Love is very much like the crowning achievement for me, for him. I'm going to give the Coen brothers a nomination for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Again, just a very Coen brothers movie. The way they're able to adapt the Odyssey, I think, is really fun and playful and clever, and I go back to the movie quite frequently. That movie also has incredible music. The soundtrack is one that I just love dearly. And then my 5th nominee is going to go the first time I'm shouting out this movie. I'm going to give M. Night Shyamalan a nomination for the film Unbreakable, which I think
Nice.
I think it's just a really cool, complex take on the superhero genre that doesn't play within the normal superhero space. Like, it's very much a Superman origin story, but it's unto itself. It's its own thing. And I just think it's a really clever movie at a point in time when M. Night Shyamalan was really cranking out excellent movies time after time. I think he's kind of lost his way a little bit for me, but I do think Unbreakable was still him doing very, very well. I have a feeling we're going to agree on here, and we'll find out very, very soon. I'm going Wong Kar-wai, In the Mood for Love. It's so perfectly executed. The acting, the way he captures the actors, the way he captures framing, the way he cuts music into the film. There's just something perfect about the way Wong Kar-wai directs In the Mood for Love. It's just a beautiful movie. I think you mentioned the word restraint earlier when we were talking about the acting performances. It's also a really restrained directing achievement as well. And I just think Wong Kar-wai has never been celebrated by the Academy to any degree. And it's shameful that it's like he's just never been loved for what he's done. And I think it is our time now to make sure Wong Kar-wai gets the love he deserves. So I'm going to say In the Mood for Love is my winner for direction. Okay, Christina.
I'll keep you guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this category when I was prepping was the hardest for me. So I'll just mention a few. I kind of decided on. I'm going to go for the five that I feel really have stood the test of time. But there's a few others that have. But I just want to shout out Lonergan for You Can Count on Me. I think it's a really great little film. I think Ridley, amazing. Gladiator, also one of the films that I mean, just ditto what you said in terms of just making an impact. And Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous. I think it's great, but I think in terms of I might be leaning more to that screenplay being the masterful work in that part and but again, right on the edge here. So I'm going to shout out Steven Soderbergh for Erin Brockovich. Or this is one of my nominations, not just a shout out. That I think it's a great. I think the in terms of how he's directed the actors and definitely the wrong movie had the focus in 2000. The wrong Soderbergh movie had the focus in 2000. Wong Kar-wai, In the Mood for Love. All I have to say, it's a masterpiece. No, I don't have to say anything other than that. It really is just an amazing film that deserves everything. I'm going to say Sofia Coppola for Virgin Suicides because I think that how she it explores every area in this film. It's atmospheric. It explores adolescence, memory, family, the sort of female experience, the teen experience. To use that phrase again, Virgin Suicide walked so Euphoria could run. This has been so impactful on so many of the deeper teen movies that we've seen. I think a lot about After Sun, which I'm sure is also a movie it's so influential of a movie that I think it's kind of almost underrated how influential it is. Lee, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because of what you said. Definitely just an amazing achievement. And I'm going to go for two women in this category because I think Mary Harron and American Psycho deserved to be nominated here. Also, a film that I think we are now starting to see how impactful it's been on years of filmmakers. And I just think it's more important than we want to give it credit for. And I wish she would do more. That I think, I don't know really why, but I'd love to see more of her work more often. So those are my five, and absolutely Wong Kar-wai. No question, even though all of these are fantastic, but that movie is the one. Yeah.
I've got a lot to them. I want to address a couple of things you said because I'm very fascinated with some of those things that you said. Number one, I've never thought about comparing Virgin Suicides and Euphoria, but that's such an interesting comparison, and it really shows the difference between a man's direction and a woman's direction.
Yes.
Because Levinson, I'm watching Euphoria season 3 right now, and it's dreadful, and there's no restraint to what he's trying to do, and Coppola just she's a master, and yeah, what an interesting. I'd never thought to compare those two, but yes, that is a great
I don't know
comparison.
if they compare, but it is just kind of how
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
No, that's a great comparison. And then I feel so bad I didn't realize it until this moment that I didn't give either of Soderbergh's movies a nomination, but I do think it's he's still doing it today, even though he's technically retired. But Soderbergh just has this ability to just make movie after movie after movie. And the idea that he made two of them in the same year effectively and as different as
Didn't he do that last year?
Yeah, he did Presents and Black Bag.
He has to make 2 movies a year.
Even in retirement, the man just cannot help himself but to make them. Yeah, I feel bad not nominating Soderbergh, but he's a tremendous filmmaker. And he just seems like he's just content making movies that make him happy, and that's great for him. Okay, so you and I are in agreement with Wong Kar-wai, In the Mood for Love, and we are going to put that to the test when we give the audience the option to vote for him or they can vote for Steven Soderbergh for his film Traffic. Good options there. I love the double female director nominees. I did that a couple of months back as well with Greta Gerwig and Catherine Bigelow. And women just so rarely get nominated for their directing work. And I just think that, like, that's one of the things I think we continually highlight on this show is how many great directorial achievements there have been by females. And this was a great year. And I feel like maybe, I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't think enough people realize that American Psycho is directed by a female. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why it works so well.
I think so too. And I think that's also one of the things that people who sort of are analyzing it erroneously don't understand the gaze that it has, because of Mary Harron. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wish she would make more movies too. She's just such a talented individual.
What did she do after? I don't remember.
That's a great question. I don't know if I could put my finger on what her
Me neither.
Yeah. I'm going to have to explore that for sure. There were a lot of great options to go with here, and Jeff opted to back the legend Ridley Scott for his work on Gladiator. Jeff's reason for this was Gladiator won Best Picture, and Ridley Scott didn't win Best Director. That's just a weird outcome. He built an ancient world from scratch, he managed a huge cast, and he made a 2.5-hour epic that doesn't drag. That is so much harder than it looks. People give Soderbergh the win for Traffic, and that's a defensible call. But making a crowd-pleasing epic with a real craft underneath is undervalued. The Academy always overlooks it. With Ridley Scott now being selected by Jeff, you can choose between him, Steven Soderbergh for Traffic, or Wong Kar-wai for In the Mood for Love. Okay, Christina, we are up to Best Picture. I feel like I know where we're going to go, but you never know until you know. So here are the 5 movies that were actually nominated for Best Picture for the year 2000. We had Chocolat, we had Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, we had Erin Brockovich, we had Gladiator, and we had Traffic, with Gladiator winning the Oscar. Now, this is a year where there were only 5 spots for Best Picture, and so we will adhere to those rules. We will only nominate 5 movies ourselves. Christina, would you like to start us off? Honorable mentions, give us your 5, and give us the movie that you think deserved Best Picture.
Kind of the same. I'm not far off from my directors, really, in my picks here, except for that I'm not going to have American Psycho in Best Film. You've just right at the edge, but I've already talked about Mary, and You Can Count on Me is an amazing film. But this was hard. I'm definitely going to do Erin Brockovich, which I think definitely deserves it. In the Mood for Love, absolutely. I'm going to put Crouching Tiger. Oh, I'm still sort of kind of debating with myself. I am going to do Virgin Suicides, because I do think that it is so impactful, and I like having sort of different feels of films in my lineup that were not going completely the same. And that is why I'm going to keep Gladiator in there to be the big bang. We need a big movie in our lineup of best films. And I think it's just still so entertaining. I mean, it just recently had a sequel. People still remember this film. It deserves to be there just for impact in terms of, I think it was an achievement in terms of the best picture. But again, it's going to go to In the Mood for Love.
Of course.
I just don't think, I just think it's crazy that it wasn't even in contention. It's that good, and it's that important. And it's not just important, and it's not just artsy fartsy. It's just so emotionally impactful, and it gets, every time I see it, the older I get, the more I've been through in my own life, the more it hits me in a different way. I think it's just amazing. It was a good year. I could have picked several other ones here. Sometimes you do these exercises and it's much easier to just throw things up there. But I could have played around with this.
Yeah, that's a really good mix too that you have in there with all of those movies. I like that you gave Gladiator the love there. Um, are you a fan? I can't remember what your opinion is on the sequel. Did you like the Gladiator sequel?
Nah, so. I mean,
Okay.
I had a good time watching it, but I don't put it up there with the first one at all. Um,
Yeah, aside from
yeah.
Denzel, I don't really think about that movie at all.
No.
Okay, over to me now for my five, and then we'll see where we stand. So I always like to do this when I only have five nominees, where I would do like, what if I had 10? What if this was a year where there were 10? So here are the five movies that are just on the outside looking in. And again, like Christina said, I wanted to try to kind of like get a mix of the year and not just play it as like the best of a dramatic level or whatever. So Best in Show would have made my 10 if I had 10. I just love that movie. Yee would have made my 10. Almost Famous would have made my 10. Requiem for a Dream would have made my 10. And American Psycho would have made my 10, which I think if you just look at those five movies kind of speaks to your point, Christina, the power of this year. There were a ton of great movies. And I do think if people were to go back and look at this year, they might hold it up higher than I think a lot of people do. I don't think this is a year that
Mm-hmm.
people compare to some of the other big years of this millennium, but I do think it deserves placement. Unlike some years where I kind of deviate between director and picture, this was a situation where, for whatever reason, I just ended up where the five I had in director ended up as my five best
Yeah,
pictures.
same.
it just ended up that
Almost.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got Crouching Tiger, which I think is just a wonderful resurgence of the martial art film later in, you know, when I think of martial arts films, I think of the 70s and the 80s, and this one kind of harkened back to some of the great martial arts films. Gladiator, to your point, it's that big action film. It's a historical epic. It's got the Ridley Scott touch to it. In the Mood for Love is a movie that will perpetually leave me amazed at the power of love and the power of beauty. It's just a magical movie. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I've said everything I could about that movie. It's my favorite adaptation of the Odyssey. Christopher Nolan, you've got a big bar to reach for me.
I was gonna say.
I'm like the Debbie Downer when it comes to the Odyssey. I'm not that excited about Nolan's version. I'm sure it will be grand and epic, but I don't know. We'll find out. I know other people are much more interested in that movie than I am. And then I'll give Unbreakable a nomination as well. Again, I just think
Fun.
it's this superhero movie that's not a superhero movie, and it's got the M. Night touches, and Bruce Willis is great. And it's just a movie that I often think about now being a father, because I think so much of that movie is about fatherhood and the way he and his child are interacting with each other. And I just find a lot to mine out of Unbreakable as I get older in life. But like Christina, when you talk about a movie there's one perfect movie in the year 2000. The acting's perfect, the cinematography, the music, the framing, the meaning behind the movie, the ending. There's nothing I can point out in The Mood for Love has that's not working at the highest level. It is one of the great achievements of cinematic history from my standpoint. I think, we're 26 years later, and I do think when these lists come out of the greatest of all time, and it's always held up.
Oh, it's always on there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think on the New York Times list that came out last year, it was like one or two. It was like in the top three, maybe, or four. It was way up there. I remember it wasn't quite at Parasite's level, but I think In the Mood for Love is just a perfect movie, and I'm so glad that you agreed with me. I was worried that maybe I was going to be alone in that opinion, so
No.
I'm happy that we're in alignment on that one. I just think In the Mood for Love is beautiful, and as you said, as I've aged, and I imagine as I continue to age, I'm just going to find more and more in that story that's going to resonate with me. And yeah, it's a perfect
Yeah,
film.
agreed.
When it came to the big category, Jeff put his full support behind Mary Herron's American Psycho as the best film of 2000. To back that choice, he gave me some context to share with you. He said, "I know it wasn't nominated. That's kind of the point. American Psycho is a takedown of late 90s corporate culture, the obsession with status, with surface, with performing success. Patrick Bateman isn't just a serial killer. He's a portrait of an entire class of people who had completely lost the plot. The business card scene isn't a joke, it's diagnosis. This film came out in 2000, pre 9/11, peak boom years. That world, the Gordon Gekko world, where being a certain kind of rich guy in a certain kind of suit meant you could do anything, was about 18 months from collapsing. American Psycho saw it coming. Nobody was ready to hear it yet. You also couldn't make this film in 2002. It only exists in this exact window. And 25 years later, that legacy is extraordinary. It's quoted, it's referenced, it's memed, it's taught. None of the actual nominees have that. Gladiator is a great film and a worthy winner, but American Psycho was the most necessary film. Best Picture should mean something. This, of course, means you have one more choice when the voting takes place. American Psycho, Gladiator, or In the Mood for Love will be able to claim the status as the best film of that year, and it is all up to you. Okay, so
let's see what your audience thinks.
I know I'm a little concerned, quite frankly, Christina, that this one's going to be like right to my heart, because I know that people online have a lot of reverence for Gladiator, and so we will find out. This is going to be the ultimate test. We will find out if my audience loves me as much as I hope they do. Okay, before we sign off, though, I do want to just remind everyone, I'm going to be taking time to answer all of your 2000 listener questions, which were submitted in a special mailbag episode. It's going to go up 1 week after this goes up. I want to thank everybody that submits those questions month after month. They're always appreciated. I like going into them and continually unpacking the rest of the year through those. That's going to do it for this recording, though. It's only the beginning. Our picks have been made. It's going to be up to you, the fans, to decide what goes into the Almanac as the true winner. I'll be putting up social media polls across 5 platforms in the coming days, and I need your votes to be cast. The more places you follow the show, the more opportunity you have to vote for the things that you love. Now, before we sign off, Christina, this is going to go up on Friday, June 5th. I know you're like a week away from now to heading to the Cannes Film Festival, which is a very exciting time for you. Why don't you give my audience a little bit of an update on what's coming for Pop Culture Confidential over the summer, and what do you have on the way, and where can they find you and follow you?
Well, at the moment, you're spot on. It's a lot of Cannes coming up, and so in June probably be sort of the tail end of that, because I'll do dispatches and things from there, but then I tend to do interviews there and after, sort of related to what I've seen there and people I've met. I'm going to be doing a little bit of TV, some TV shows, about some good TV, because there's so much TV right now, kind of Emmy season. The year is so much movies ahead until we get to the Oscars, and then we can take a little TV breather, and then it's Cannes again, and it keeps going. But so that's, I think, a little bit about it. And you can find my interviews and my work on popcultureconfidential.com, and on social media you'll find me on X at Christina Birro, and Instagram as well, and YouTube. So yeah, follow me there.
I can't express enough how impressed I am every time I listen to one of your episodes, whether it's an interview or whether it's with you and Ryan doing stuff together. I think all of the stuff that comes on your channel is incredible work. And the stuff you do, especially around the film festival, I find really impactful and really interesting. And again, it guides me into like what I need to be paying attention to during the upcoming award season. If you don't mind me asking, do you already have kind of what you're going to see at Cannes lined up, or are there things you're most excited to check out?
I do. It's actually a fantastic year. The most difficult thing about Cannes is just trying to get to everything I want to see while I'm there, and sort of scheduling. I try to see as much as possible, but yeah, I'm looking forward to everything from Fjord, Christian Mungiu's film with Renate Rensve. Pavlo Pawlikowski has a new one called Fatherland with Sandra Hüller, who I think possibly could be both of those ladies. I think we're going to be talking about Oscar season-wise going forward. I haven't even seen the movies yet, but just the buzz that I'm hearing about that. There's so many interesting things coming up. Yeah. And there's a lot of sci-fi and things and genre films at Cannes, which I'm not quite as used to seeing there. So it's an interesting year. Less blockbustery, less Hollywood, but other types of films, yeah.
What's the movie that's leading off this year? I know that you always try to go for like a big blockbustery type thing to kick off the festival.
They're not doing blockbusters usually. There's almost no Americans. There's only two American directors in the competition lineup at all, Ira Sachs, and otherwise there are no blockbusters. That's the
Wow.
whole, yeah.
So is this the Ira Sachs movie that has Rami Malek starring in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kind
I'm
of
very
musical.
I'm intrigued by that one. Yeah.
Do you like Rami Malek? He divides people so much. I'm here. I can.
It's so funny. Rami
He's not
Malek.
laughing.
He's. I'm not a fan in general, but I told somebody when I saw a still image of this movie, and I said, if somebody's going to get a performance out of Rami Malek that's going to captivate me, it's probably Ira Sachs. I loved Passages.
Me too. Yeah.
Peter Hewer's Day that came out last year, I thought was really strong. So I'm hopeful that this will be the Rami
That's
Malek.
so funny because you said, because that's exactly what I've been saying to people, because people have been like, no, Rami Malek's going to, I don't want to see that's going to be a show. I was like, well, wait till you see what Ira Sachs does with it. I mean,
Yes.
it's going to be something, adventurous and edgy and strong and in the way all his films are. So I can't imagine that, he would let anything fly.
Who's head of the jury this year?
Park Chan-wook.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's also interesting. Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a very interesting year for what takes the Palme d'Or, given what you've kind of outlined there, where
absolutely
it's kind of all over the board. Awesome. Well, I know for a fact I will be following your channel more than any other to kind of keep track of what's going on in Cannes, because I love that you drop those little nuggets as the festival's going on, so I almost feel like I'm a part of it because of following your channel, which makes it really exciting. And so thank you for doing that work for all of us that are fans.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having me here. This was so much fun, and it's an exercise that really had me thinking and nostalgic and going back. And I hope your listeners aren't too mad at us for.
I'm so grateful. Anytime anyone ever signs up for this crazy project, I'm always so appreciative. And I know how much work you have just in general in this space. And so I'm very, very appreciative that you took the time to do this project and spend a couple hours with me. I want to take another quick moment, and I want to thank Jeff for graciously accepting an invite to be on the show. I know he wasn't able to be part of the recording itself, but I hope I was able to do justice to his picks and the feedback he sent me. You can support Jeff by following him on social media. The handle is @JeffRauseo. You can check out his incredible Substack newsletter, which I read on a weekly basis, and by reading his latest book, Lost in the Stream, which I am nearly finished with, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it from the very, very start. And I want to let everybody know that the upcoming episode after this one will be in July, and I'm going to be joined by two returning guests. I'll have Betsy and Trent Gorham from the Never Seen It podcast, and we are going to be going back to the year 2011, and we're actually going to be redoing one of this show's lost episodes from back in season 1, so that's going to have a slightly different format to it than normal. I will explain all of that on the episode. Do not worry. Once again, you can find and follow on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Letterboxd, Threads, TikTok. If there's a social media platform, I'm on it. The handle's Rev Almanac. There will be timestamps all over this episode, so you can go back to a specific category if you want to hear what Christina and I had to say about any of our nominees as you sort of formulate your own vote. It was an absolute pleasure having Christina here. It was a pleasure having all of you here listening and watching with us. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Andrew. And all I have to say is, are you not entertained?